Fire, 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 fire. We got a rap video about Stellar Blade. Ooh, booba! I gotta give Stellar Blade a try. I'm not a gooner, but I can appreciate the female body.
Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So over the past year or so in the gaming industry, there's been a lot of reaping and sowing, both good and bad.
all the Eastern games are just taking a big fat dump on the Western ones. You see that? Concord, Dustborn, Star Wars Outlaws, and Assassin's Creed. And it's DMC, Wukong. I don't know who this is. It's Stellar Blade.
And a lot of games that pandered and virtue signaled and spent more time caring about what screechers on Twitter might think, well, they failed. We also saw some examples of games that just wanted to provide a good experience with appealing character designs, and they succeeded. And one of those games that released last year was Stellar Blade, released back in April of that year, and it had enormous levels of success, and it was a huge hit for Shift Up and Sony. Now, here we are.
The only thing that Sony did wrong was making it exclusive, which was super cringe.
In the year 2025 in June, and they just had their PC release. Now, there is plenty of journalists who are still fuming about this game and doing everything in their power to kill the hype. You can see PC Games N here giving a paltry 6 out of 10.
PC Games also gave Concord a 9 or an 8 out of 10. Yeah. I don't know about that.
Saying this game is basically very underwhelming and boring. But of course, even IGN had to eventually admit that this PC release was a massive success. The PC version of Stellar Blade is already Sony's biggest single-player Steam launch ever. And the numbers look insane.
Sony's gonna be happy about that. We might get more if we make them lots of money.
Right now, in the middle of the afternoon, a few days into the PC release, you can see over 140,000 in-game PC players, despite the 6 out of 10 from that previous journalist. The Steam review percentage is 92%. If you look at the charts, it's actually...
Any chatters? Have they played it yet? You guys like it? I bet you do. So the mods are wild. Yeah, probably really good for Jorkin.
Actually gaining momentum over the past couple of days. All these numbers just fly in the face of all the excuses various shills have provided for other games. We heard this with Dragon Age the Veilguard and Assassin's Creed Shadows, where Steam DB charts, they don't matter. They're not real numbers because they're releasing the game on multiple platforms, so these numbers aren't reliable. And of course, both of those games failed financially. And
even though Stellar Blade was a big success on the PlayStation, even though it wasn't exclusive? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's cope.
Really just proved that people relying on the charts correct. But here, this game releases on PC after releasing on console over a year ago and has numbers that crushed those two previous games that I just mentioned. On top of that, like I said, a year later, think about a different example with Star Wars Outlaws that had a Steam release very shortly after its initial release, which a lot of people were surprised by. That wasn't seemingly the plan, but even then, after a much shorter window between the releases, their Steam numbers were in the few thousand, okay? And that's despite being a major AAA release from a beloved franchise. Now, of course, these numbers seem undeniable. Even the shills cannot deny this. The journalists have to...
You know what the actual denial is that it's all Asian, the Asian population are full of gooners, and that's why. It's so cringe, man.
Accept the reality that this PC launch was a major success, so what did they do now? They seethe. Here's Vice taking a break from their Waypoint journalists, slandering VTubers to make this banger, saying, Stellar Blade PC launch breaks Steam sales records thanks to its thirsty fan base.
Good-looking characters equals thirsty. Got it. Yeah, Geralt of Rivia being in the opening sequence, basically naked, with a hot chick in Witcher 3. Yeah, thirsty fan base, by the way. Attractive characters equals thirsty.
Stellar Blade is breaking numbers, largely being fueled by its thirsty fan base. Yeah, largely by thirsty players. That's what Vice has to say. And of course, The people at Shift Up disagree. They think the biggest reason for the success is its combat. Now, of course, nobody is blind here. The appealing character designs and the appealing outfits contained in Stellar Blade definitely contributed to its success. A lot of people are happy to see it, but that is not the end-all be-all of a game success like this.
It's not, but it helps a lot. I can attest to certain games, for example, like gacha games. I think the characters are hot, but I think the gameplay is boring. But like, I can appreciate the art itself.
Clearly, a lot of people really enjoyed the gameplay and the combat. Clearly, to minimize all of this just to appealing character designs and thirsty players is a gigantic cope. We've seen other games lean heavily into appealing character designs with a lot of fan service, perhaps even more than Stellar Blade. And one example is
First Descendant blows ass. If anything, it's actually extremely bad. Like, what are we talking about? First Descendant sucks.
First Descendant,
Only
which
when
right
it's
now,
got,
despite
like,
being
ass.
a live service game that's free to play, has numbers that have really floundered. They got off to a really good start, but things changed really quickly, and they really haven't recovered in any sort of a significant way because the gameplay just doesn't connect with people as much as Stellar Blade did. But things would get worse. PC Gamer is very upset about this.
Gooner Game of the Year!
Probably more upset about what's going on with the PC release more than anyone else.
Dude, I get this so much. I get so much of this for me personally. People say, "Oh, Lana, you have a gooner model. Alana, why don't you just do gooning content? You'll be more successful with gooning content. You have a really hot character. Nobody would listen to you if you didn't have a gooner, model." And I'm like, it's not gooner. I just like the model, man. I didn't even design it, keep in mind. I just gave someone an idea.
Okay, they came up with this saying, Gooner Game of the Year, Stellar Blade's mods are 41% smut, ensuring gamers will never see the light of heaven.
Does that mean that Overwatch and Overwatch 2 is a bad game because it's got gooner shit in it? Like the mods and the porn? That makes no sense. I guess so. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think Overwatch is a good game or a bad game because of the gooner modding. Attractive equals gooning. Yo, guys, thank you for the gift of the subs. I really appreciate the gift of the subbies. Thank you, Exotic. Embrace the goon. Why not just have attractive characters?
Don't you love it when PC Gamer tells you you're never going to see the light of heaven for playing Stellar Blade? And the way they describe this game is ridiculous. The Gooner game, okay? This
for a journalist that loves to talk about women empowerment, why is it bad for a woman to be hot, huh?
The Gooner
Riddle
game.
me that.
Okay, this person did some work with Grok here to compare the number of intercourse scenes in all of these games versus the Gooner games like Stellar Blade. Dragon Age the Veilguard, 7.
7? That's 7 too many!
Mass Effect 3, 6 to 8. Cyberpunk 2077, 4 to 6. And so on and so forth. Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Inquisition, God of War. And then Stellar Blade at the bottom.
0!
Goose Egg. And yet this is the Gooner game. Not Dragon Age the Veilguard, nothing else on this
Witcher
list.
3 is a Gooner
It's just
game.
Stellar Blade. Because, well, these journalists have a massive bias. They just don't like this game and what it stands for, just being a product designed for gamers, and they're just seething about its success. Now, going to the article itself, it gets even more ridiculous as you read through. So they say stuff like this. Stellar Blade finally hit PC 2 days ago, giving everyone a chance to do whatever it is this game is actually about.
So you didn't play the game and you're writing an article about how it's bad. Good. It's good that they're at least honest in the first paragraph, chat.
Unfortunately, no one knows what that is because the entirety of discourse surrounding it is about the main character's butt.
Okay, and?
Are you joking?
And?
You're the one limiting this entire game to its fan service and the appeal of its character designs. This is not something that no one knows what it's about. A lot of people do, including millions of people. They know because they played through the game, and clearly PC Gamer hasn't bothered. They don't know what this game's about. They're just relying on a bunch of weirdos on Twitter who are upset about this game.
Well, yeah, why would they ever play the game themselves? They're PC Gamer. Yeah. Those journalists, man. You do not hate them enough at this point. How can you call yourself PC Gamer if you don't fucking play the game?
Now, going down here, they keep seething. And they say,
Yeah, go to
by
McDonald's,
intense
bro.
scientific calculus counting, fully 96 of the 234 mods available for this game, 41% that currently exist for Stellar Blade, are marked as adult. And frankly, some of the ones that are not marked as adult are probably not safe for work.
Probably. Use keyword probably.
How do you feel about Eve Feet Hands? Good? Would you discuss that with your grandparents?
Wait, Eve Feet Hands sounds funny. What? They're saying that's a gooner? If Eve Feet Hands is a gooner mod, not a funny mod?
Over Christmas dinner? No.
Holy Malachi,
Why would
where
you
you
talk
at?
about not safe for work content and mods for this game with your grandparents over Christmas? What a stupid thing to say. Would you talk about this article with your grandparents at Christmas?
No.
I don't think so. And I also think there's other articles that this person has wrote that
Wait, it only took 3 hours for someone to upload the first Oblivion remastered gooner. Dude, they're so mad at people wanting to have sex and have feelings and urges, man. Dude! They're more conservative than most conservatives. The fuck?
definitely would not be sharing with their grandparents over Christmas. Look at the name here. Joshua Wallens. Well, let's look back to September of 2024, not even a year ago. They made an entire article about Baldur's Gate 3's bear intercourse scene.
Yeah, but it's okay because it's Baldur's Gate 3, right? How weird is that?
And how important this was to spreading the message of the game.
She's a
I
furry.
kid you not. Would you share this with your grandparents at Christmas dinner?
No.
I don't think so, dude. And you're a massive hypocrite. This is the person telling you you're not going to see the pearly gates.
Bear sex, good. Woman, ass, and booba? Bad.
Because you played Stellar Blade, but then they act like this not even a year ago. It's complete hypocrisy. Everyone can see
So
this.
dumb.
And this is why games journalists are a complete and utter joke. Now, there's some more people upset about the success of Stellar Blade. Some people are still coping on Steam, and they're trying to leave negative reviews. Look at some of these. Let's start here. The male gaze and objectification of women. Eve's hypersexualized appearance, skin-tight outfits, exaggerated body proportions, and voyeuristic camera work are a major selling point in the game and reflects a design rooted in the male gaze.
So if I play Witcher 3 and I get Geralt naked, or Batman with big muscles, if I get him naked and I start pointing the camera at his body and taking Gunnar Fujoshi shots to Gunta later, it's fine. But when a man does it to Stellar Blade, that's unacceptable. Nah, a little bit double standards, I think. Fleet joke here recommended. Yeah, recommend my ass.
When a woman's strength is constantly
Can't
filtered
wait for Fleet
through
to
her
make a
sex
video,
appeal,
bro.
her power becomes conditional, and it's acceptable only if it's visually pleasing to a presumed male gaze. Ultimately, Stellar Blade reinforces the idea that women should appeal to the male gaze to be in the spotlight.
Male gaze!
Again, I always love when people bring up the
gaze of
camera
the
work.
males.
You control the camera, buddy. Okay, if you're using it in that way, that's on you. But people like appealing designs. This is not shocking. And also, guess what? It's not just men who enjoy these designs. Women do too.
Yes!
And I love people like this who speak on behalf of women. They basically say,
Yeah, what about the lesbians? Like, the fuck?
there's no way you actually like this game, clearly, because it's so designed for the male gaze, which is so backwards.
Those
It's
damn
like peak
gays.
male feminist energy. We see it all the time. But here's another one saying, mod to make it less sexual.
These are the same people that get really, really mad when you start making joke, like, joking little meme mods for games. Like, I don't know, man. Just so bizarre how these people, like, try to flip the script. So hypocritical. Yeah, it's a furry profile picture, and it's a woman!
Laugh.
Why is it that women hate other women so much?
Bro clowns, etc. I've heard great things about the gameplay. I'm a huge fan of this genre. I would love to play, but I genuinely can't enjoy or get into a game as blatantly sexual as this. This person wants...
Then go play Dark Souls or something. It's not sexual. Oh wait, it kind of is in a way.
a mod to tone down this game.
Crabs in a bucket, yeah.
Just buy another game. If this is too much for you, if this offends you morally or whatever, that's fine. But no one's going to make a mod to tone this down for you. Just be realistic here. But there were some more talks about the mods for this game. Apparently the Shift Up CEO has shared his view on mods, basically saying a lot of them are still pretty limited. And he basically is challenging these modders to do better, to go further, I guess. And he's looking forward to more mods that not just target outfits.
Wait, so he's taunting them. That's so good. He's like, you can do better. It's a bit lacking up until now. I think the official content is still better. Dude, that's what I would do, man. That's smart.
Things like that, but also change the way that the game is enjoyed. So this is a pretty healthy reaction, in my opinion, especially when so many developers just go crazy over mods. They get so angry. We've seen multiple companies try to do their best to take down mods, to discourage people from making mods, to, of course, alter their single player experience that's not hurting any other player other than themselves. But anyways, people are also trying to downplay these numbers. You can see the journalist here, Paul Tassi, talked about him pretty recently. He said,
yep, there it is, Asia focused. Prime gaming time in the West is pretty much its daily low point. Why are they so coping so fucking hard? Just guzzling cock of like these horrible games that do badly, and they cope and say, oh, well, you know, the audience didn't show up for this one, we'll get them next time. And then something does well, it's like, oh, well, it could have done better, actually. It's actually just the Asian audience.
The Stellar Blade curve is interesting, as you can see just how Asia-focused it is. Prime...
What is this supposed to mean? Asia-focused? You can't enjoy a hot Korean girl with a big fat ass and big titties? Because you're white or something? The fuck?
Gaming time in the West is pretty much its daily low point. And then they say in parentheses, tweet screenshot prevention. I am not saying this is bad. Then why are you bringing it up? This is such an...
You suck self-Bungie too? So extra ignore him? Oh, that explains so much.
Obvious point. Everyone understands this game sold the best in Asia. That's where the studio is. Like, of course it's going to sell the best there. We went through the same exact thing
with Wukong.
With Black Myth Wukong, where people try to downplay, you know, millions of concurrent players by saying, well, it peaked pretty low when the East went to bed. Yeah, no kidding, dude. That's the region that they focused on the most. Duh. This is just a stupid, petty thing to bring up. That's just trying to downplay these numbers that are incredibly impressive, even in the West. Now, of course, Paul is someone who has tried to downplay this game from the get-go.
Again, he's like, it's a bit excessive that he got a really good score. They're so mad. They're so mad.
And last year saying Stellar Blade is now the highest user-scored PS5 game ever, which is a bit excessive. Why? It's not up to you.
This VTuber has a lot of viewers. I think it's just a bit excessive.
It's up to the players to decide that. But now they've come full circle, saying 10 things I wish I knew when I started Stellar Blade 2025 PC Edition, where he is largely praising the game. It's pretty funny. He also shared an article...
What? He flip-flopped that hard?
...from Jason Shrier over at Bloomberg, sharing the reasons why Dragon Age the Veilguard failed. And it's very interesting to see the comparison points between Stellar Blade and everything that happened with that versus Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is always some weird set of comparisons, but I guess
they're two different games too, but at the same time, why do you have to complain directly about... I don't know, man. It's just so sad. I just want good video games. Is that too much to ask?
Like I said, a lot of people make excuses for the Steam DB numbers of Veilguard when it came out, and now they're not making any sort of comment about that when it comes to Stellar Blade.
I try to be skeptical of it. For example, when Black Myth Wukong came out, I remember people are saying that the numbers were fake. They were saying that they were straight up fake, they were botting. And I said, okay, even if they're botting, let's say we'll do like 50%, that's still an insane amount of people playing a game that literally broke the charts, even if by that logic. You are stupid, you are coping.
Now we have, of course,
Ridiculous.
Jason Schreier, who wrote this article that's being shared. And he was one who infamously tried to preemptively spike the proverbial football on this one, where he said, go woke, go top the charts, showing the first day results of Dragon Age the Veilguard.
And then he deleted the post. You know, it's funny, I like Jason Schreier when he was shitting all over Blizzard, but even he has his moments of being an idiot, I'm not gonna lie. No.
And at the time it was 58,000.
He fell off.
Concurrent.
That's a shame. It's a shame.
Players, where someone said, there's no way you genuinely liked this turd, where he said, I actually don't like the game very much, but I do like seeing you chuds get dunked on.
Yeah. Dragon Age the Veilguard definitely owned the chuds, guys. Baldur's Gate 3 is a chud game. An RPG. If you liked Baldur's Gate, you are obligated to like Dragon Age the Veilguard, even if it sucks, remember that.
It's a full-grown man unironically calling people chuds on social media in order to dunk on them with a game that ultimately failed and caused massive layoffs over at BioWare.
Not too
good. But this is the article itself. This is a screenshot. I am not giving any support to Bloomberg. So you can see inside the Dragon Age debacle that gutted EA's BioWare studio, and basically said they went through 10 years of development turmoil. And here's a summation, some of the highlights of that article, saying there was a lot of immense pressure to succeed after the failure of Anthem, which, yeah, I could see that, as well as Andromeda too. The original concept was a small single-player experience, and then EA forced a pivot to a multiplayer live service format.
That probably happened. And that's why the development cost ballooned immensely. That's so sad to hear. I know, we already heard about this, like, them trying to pivot to multiplayer live service for some godforsaken reason for Dragon Age.
Creative director resigned over the shift, and then you can see Anthem's failure in 2019 raised internal doubts about repeating mistakes. The pandemic just complicated things. In 2020, the project was abruptly pivoted back to single player.
That, by the way, is so bad. When you don't have a direction, it's such a fucking bad thing. Oh shit! Oh shit! I spilled my Topo Chico with my foot. Oh my god, dude! I'm so cooked.
Which,
my Topo Chico.
If it was a live service multiplayer, dude, can you imagine how much worse things could have been? But of course, the team only had 18 months to overhaul the structure and rewrite the story. Tight timelines, multiple delays.
I do think they got shot in the foot by EA, but definitely the developers were not stellar either.
Feedback from the alpha testing in 2022 pointed to a lack of impactful narrative decisions. BioWare brought in a second team to help finish the game. We already kind of knew that. The cultural clashes over the team caused a lot of issues.
Wait, cultural clashes? Dragon Age team was laid back. Mass Effect team was top down and structured. Oh, you mean they wanted to... Oh, that's exactly what happens. That's what happened with Activision, too. They brought over a bunch of people from Hearthstone into fucking WoW. That was horrible. Excuse me. I apologize.
Some of the Mass Effect leaders rewrote and added new scenes including the game's emotional finale. Dragon Age leads were frustrated, denied resources, and excluded from key meetings. The online multiplayer version's snarky tone felt outdated. Concerns it would resemble Forspoken led to last-minute dialogue rewrites.
Forspoken?
The dialogue was actually worse originally.
What?
That's pretty hard to believe.
It's worse than I want your... Oh my god, it's worse than pull a Barv? No. Dude, I would pay money to see the original scripts. That's probably amazing.
Okay. But looking at BioWare's future, contributes around 5% of EA's annual revenue. EA primarily profits from sports and shooter games.
Yep.
And yada, yada, yada. So you get it. There was a lot going on, and honestly, a lot of it was just internal confusion, changing of the direction of this game multiple times, reverting giant pivots, like going from single player to multiplayer live service and then going back.
Yep.
That's obviously pretty hard to deal with, and bringing in multiple teams to try to finish this and tweak the dialogue as much as humanly possible. But I think a lot of this stuff talks about the internal issues, but doesn't talk about the
EA going down. I completely disagree. I think EA is doing just fine. I think they're just killing off studios like they always have.
Optics. This game just had the worst optics ever. Everyone knows this who's being honest about it. It got dismissed as a woke game, and the dialogue and the direction of the story was impacted by clearly the agenda of some people working at BioWare, or at least some of the people.
1,000
and the
people,
numbers
man.
of this, you just don't explain this away with all the excuses we've heard. And you can just look at the numbers. I mean, an instant drop off. And again, this just...
Yeah, the fact that it was at let's say 10,000 and now it's dropped to 1,000 is just kind of sad.
Doesn't explain everything. Just looking at the article.
Why even buy it on Steam at this point when you just get it on Game Pass for free and just try it?
Clearly the optics of this were really bad. And of course, there's explanations for this. Some people brought up...
Asmongold trashing something does actually matter now, like it or not. Yes, Asmongold has the pull of reaching millions of gamers that probably don't even know who he is. Or they don't care about what he says. Does he not realize that not actually that many people like Asmon? And if anything, they'll buy stuff to spite him? Or they don't. That's why they probably failed too.
Up that YouTubers designating this game as woke was one of the reasons it failed. And Paul Tassi said, it's easy to push back on this, but when the woke debates consume literally an entire online marketing campaign that can, in fact, be damaging, and yes, Asmongold trashing something does actually matter now, like it or not. Not that you should cater to that, but it's where we are. I disagree. I think people like Asmongold have an impact, but at the end of the day, a lot of people, not everyone watches Asmongold. Like, he's very popular, but like,
he's a niche character. That's what I always say.
You have to understand the giant normie market for a Dragon Age IP. A lot of them did not see his review or any review from YouTubers.
Yep.
And on top of that, we were told over and over again that YouTubers and anyone with a platform criticizing this game, irrelevant. You didn't matter. And now all of a sudden, people like Asmongold are so...
You criticize Dragon Age the Veilguard and you get called right-wing. Can you believe that shit? I'm not! People always call me and say, Alana, you're such a chud. And I'm like, I don't know. I've been called a fence-sitter more than anything. Yeah, I'm a fence-sitting idiot.
Powerful. They control markets. And down here, someone basically says, I disagree. And he replies by saying,
even if you're a left-leaning person,
it is not a clear majority, it's a loud minority. No game fails purely because it's woke. Not this, not Concord, or whatever you're going to reference. All of the...
Concord wasn't even woke. It was just terrible. What? Like, yeah, they had pronouns and it was cringy, but like, at the same time, it wasn't really woke. It was just flat out bad. Just period.
These games.
Yes, it was woke as fuck. Chat, you need to get a reality check. Dragon Age the Veilguard had scars in an RPG. I completely disagree. The only thing that was there was the fucking pronouns and the horrible character designs. That was about it. Dragon Age Unhinged, the Veilguard, 100 million times worse and takes the cake on that shit.
Also have real issues,
yeah,
separate from all of that, obviously. And he's getting clowned on and criticized pretty hard for this, trying to downplay this stuff and say it's the loud minority
Dragon Age
that's
was
causing
100
games to
million
fail.
times worse.
Where is the silent majority? Where are they? Because if they existed, they would show up. This is not.
They don't want to buy games because they don't actually buy games because they don't like to play games.
Not some gigantic leap of faith to go out and buy a video game you like. If you're interested in, you're hearing some negative things from a supposed loud minority, you're still going to go and buy it. I'm sorry. Why would you let a loud minority affect you? It just seems odd. And honestly, the loud minority has always been the activists on Twitter, the woke people, the people trying to push agenda and control what these games are allowed to do or not to do in order to serve their agenda. That's the loud minority, and it's been proven over and over again with games that try to cater to them. This is so obvious. I don't understand how anyone is trying to pretend like this is the reality when it's really the opposite. But of course...
Or the vast majority of people, the public, play games that are fun. I don't know, man. That's just me.
Stellar Blade's got an amazing thing here. Shift Up got an amazing thing here. And anything that they're going to be working on next...
I don't need pronouns to play games. Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't have pronouns, and it's arguably the most inclusive game on the fucking planet. I don't know what to tell you. You can have a penis on a chick and a vagina on a man. How is it not progressive? But it doesn't have pronouns, because they don't fucking care.
Everyone's super excited. But Sony...
Concord blows.
What are we doing? Sony now remains committed to diverse and resilient live service games, including forthcoming Marathon and Fair games.
Marathon is not doing too hot after that whole AI fucking art debacle and stealing people's art.
Despite high-profile failures. Yes, they see what happens to games like Concord. They see how these live service games struggle. They see how games like Stellar Blade succeed. But they choose the wrong options. There's a right option and a wrong one here from a common sense standpoint. And they're sticking with Marathon and Fair games, which are going to struggle mightily.
I think that Marathon, the actual game itself probably won't be terrible, but that ship has sailed so far off into the future that people aren't gonna give a fuck. Yeah, they delayed it to like 2026. Like, good lord.
It's rare you can just look at stuff and say,
people are not gonna give a fuck.
That's not gonna do well. And that's an example of that. That's what people said when they saw Concord. And guess what? That's what people are saying when they see Marathon and Fair games. And the fact they're sticking with the stuff, insane. But anyways, not to diminish the great day or great week for Stellar Blade, but that's some of the other stuff going on and some of the people fighting back at the success of this game and trying to diminish it.
Weird.
But for now, it's going to do for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
Chad is trying to play Stellar Blade. I'm just kidding. Who am I kidding? Games on stream? Very funny. What even is Fair games? I actually don't know. I don't know what Fair games is. Fair games game. Fair games CGI reveal trailer. PlayStation's Haven. I've never even heard of this game. What is this? Multiplayer third-person shooter. Let's go! Another one! I'm so happy. But on the good side, it's actually a great game. Some people criticize it for being too simple for a Souls-like, but, I mean, some people don't want to play a Souls-like. They don't want to get CBT'd to death. They want to look at a chick's ass while they're getting a little bit CBT'd, and that's fine. Again, preferences all around. If you like it and you see them doing well, I don't know, feels like it's a success. I get bored while playing FromSoft games. Yeah, because there's not enough ass. Need more ass.